earlier on today, this happened. Around 1,000 illegal immigrants came across the Channel today alone. Earlier in the week, this happened.
Well, I'm delighted that today we have reached a historic solution that I believe is pragmatic and gives the people of Gibraltar the certainty they need for their sovereignty.
Honestly, you can just hear the cogs turning in his mind there, can't you? The government signed a surrender deal on Gibraltar. On the same day, this happened.
Defence spending will now rise to 2.6% of GDP by April 2027, to £280 million more per year by the end of the spending review for our new border security commands. We will be ending the costly use of hotels to house asylum seekers, an extra £29 billion per year for the day-to-day running of our health service.
Money, 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 absolutely, yes. Rachel Reeves is accused of bankrupting Britain. And then today we had this, another Pakistani rape gang being convicted. And that, of course, is before we've even got onto this. So that was the Iranian strike on Israel. The breaking line to bring you in the last few moments is that Israel has now struck back, and apparently Tehran is currently being bombed. We're going to get you footage of that as soon as we get it. But there's a reason why I'm rounding all of these stories up, OK? Because there is a lot to talk about. And as you can see, there's an empty chair next to me here on Patrick Christie's tonight. We like to mix things up a bit. We like to surprise the live audience. They've gone to a lot of effort to get here on a Friday evening. So I wanted to introduce a very special guest.
To know the truth about who's committing crime in our country. Indicative data suggests that Afghan and Eritrean nationals are 20 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence than a British citizen. That Congolese nationals are almost 12 times more likely to be convicted of a violent crime.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Shadow Justice Minister, Robert Jenrick. Hello, Robert. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Take a seat. Thank you very much for this. Well, look, if people hear our discussion now and you feel desperate that you want to ask a little question, put your hand up, we can get a microphone to you. So thank you so much for coming in tonight.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
We do have to start with, I think, the ongoing events in the Middle East. As we understand it, Israel has just hit back. We're going to probably bring up some live shots of what we can see at the moment. What has to happen now? Does this government need to do more to support Israel, do you think?
Well, look, we all want to see peace in the Middle East, but let's not pretend anything other than that Iran is an enemy of the UK. They have been committing malign activities here in the UK for many, many years. And of course, they have a stated objective of wiping Israel off the map. And so we should be supporting Israel at a time like this. Imagine if a near neighbour of ours was determined to wipe us off the map, and if that was trying to build a nuclear bomb, it's right that Israel defends itself.
Yes, and the concern, I think, for a lot of people will be that if it does erupt, that we might see more disruption on the streets of Britain, a bit like we've been seeing with some of the pro-Palestine protests as well. What would you like to see done there if we do start to see issues here?
Well, look, we need to make sure that there are peaceful protests if there are them here in the UK, but they don't, as has happened time and time again, trip into something much more disturbing like the kind of anti-Semitism and extremism that we've seen on the streets right the way back to October the 7th. When I was in the Home Office with Suella Braverman, we raised concerns, we pushed the police to robustly enforce our extremism laws. I don't want to see people shouting abuse, making the Jewish community here in the United Kingdom feel uncomfortable walking the streets of their own capital city.
Do you think that the British Armed Forces should militarily support Iran if there is all-out war with support Israel, if there is all-out war with Iran?
Well, we have in the past provided some assistance to Israel when there were strikes in over the course of the last year or two, so I think it would be right for us to do so again.
OK, all right. Well, I'm going to just, I think, we're going to be seeing live shots there for television. I'll bring you more updates. But the initial reason why I wanted you on, actually, was because you published another one of your videos earlier today. We've had some fantastic stuff, haven't we, the ticket touts on trains as well. And most people saw that.
You all paid your fares this evening. I'll come round and I'll be checking your tickets before you leave.
Yeah, this is it. Well, fair enough, all right. But you did another one today, and it was essentially your roundup of the Migrant Crime League table. We played it in the openers there, so I won't rehash it. Can you summarise what the facts are when it comes to migrant crime levels in Britain, please? Nationality crime levels as well.
Well, I just want to know the truth about who's committing crime in our country. From what little we do know, we think around 23% of all crimes are committed by foreigners, and there are massive disparities in the likelihood of somebody to commit a crime by their nationality. The indicative data we have suggests that an Albanian, for example, is 123 times more likely to be convicted of a drug offence than a British citizen. There are some foreign nationalities that are actually less likely to commit crime, like Germans, Americans, Indian citizens. But we don't know really the full facts, and successive governments have refused to put this into the public domain. I've been trying to push governments, including the former Conservative government, for a very long time. What I'm doing now is tabling an amendment to a piece of legislation going through Parliament, and this is going to go to a vote. So Keir Starmer will have a choice: publish migrant crime data, let you all know what's really going on, understand who is being convicted of crime by nationality, how they got into the country, their visa status, their asylum status, and then we can actually make policies to keep you safe. Or, if Keir Starmer doesn't want to do that, I think he is perpetuating yet another cover-up, not allowing you to understand, to know fully what's actually happening in our own country.
Just on this, I mean, I know that presumably most of you are regular GB News viewers and listeners. We really did try here to get a Migrant Crime League table published. Is that something that you would want to see? Didn't we have a right to know that? Yeah, it just seemed astonishing that we don't have one, really. Do you think that Labour are going to do this, though? I mean, Yvette Cooper has said that she's going to publish details of people who commit crime whilst their asylum claim is being...
Who are awaiting deportation or are liable for deportation, which is a very limited part of the problem. I want to see the whole picture. You know, the data that we do know that's been dragged out of government, kicking and screaming, is very disturbing. You saw on that video that I posted that an Afghan or an Eritrean national is 20 times more likely to be convicted of a sexual offence than a British citizen. Now, I think you deserve to know that, if that's the case. And then we've got to design policies according to that. You know, our immigration policy, at its absolute heart, should have keeping the British public safe. And if it means that some nationalities are much more likely to commit serious crimes that harm our own citizens, then we have to take decisions accordingly.
The obvious pushback to that is the fact that a lot of the damage that was done in terms of the importation of foreign criminals was done under your former government, and your former government, as you've already said, did not publish the Migrant Crime League tables. Was that a mistake? Do you wish you'd have gone further when you had the chance?
Well, a few people have been more honest about the mistakes of the last Conservative government. I actually resigned from Cabinet because I didn't think we were making the right choices on immigration. And when we were in government and I was a backbencher, I tabled an amendment to try to do exactly this, working, in fact, with you, Patrick, and GB News. So neither government has made the right choices, but we can fix this now. And I'm more interested in the present and the future. How do we get this right to keep our own people safe?
All right. I'm quite keen at some point to go to the audience. So if people do want to make any points on anything or ask Ms Jenrick something, there's a chap you'd like to make a point, would you? We can get your microphone. We get the microphone over to him. Is that possible? All right. Here we go. It's one of those anything can happen moments, and I think we'll be all right. What would you like to say, sir? What would you like to say?
I think just recently, over the past few governments, what we need to see is accountability, massively accountability. And that's going to be so important to a lot of ordinary, every working day people. We get public inquiries, but then nothing seems to happen. So on the agenda of any government should be accountability for what's going on. And that's what this audience would like to see as well, accountability for people who break the law.
So just to break that down a bit then, so you would, like to see people spend longer in prison for committing serious crimes? Is that what you mean?
100%, yeah. You can't let them out with You know, you can't lock up people who want to. Yes, tags, exactly. You can't lock up people who are making Facebook things or things on Twitter and let criminals out. What does that kind of a message send to anybody?
Okay.
So, you know, accountability must be.
Well, that's well within your brief, Shadow Justice.
It is, and I totally agree with you, sir. I think that people were already raging at the fact that people were being released from prison after serving a fraction of their sentence before you got this Labour government coming in and saying they're going to go even further. In fact, now Keir Starmer has said that almost no one will serve a prison sentence of 12 months or less. That means if you get convicted of burglary, of theft, if you're a thug who beats somebody up, you're very unlikely to go to jail. And if you do go to jail for really serious things like assault, like even rape, you will serve 50% or less of your sentence, and you're back out on the street.
They say that's because you didn't build enough prisons.
Well, we should have built enough prisons, but what we've got to be doing first and foremost is getting all the foreign national offenders out of our jail. Labour say they need to find about 8,000 extra prison places in the coming years. That's a lot of places, but there's 10,800 foreign national offenders in our prisons right now. So why don't we strain every sinew to get those foreign offenders out of our prisons, out of our country? That is the first thing that we should be doing. And frankly, as you said, sir, I don't think a tag is justice. Do you think that's a deterrent? Does anyone really think that having a little bit of, you know, plastic or a rubber tag on you is going to stop you committing another crime? It's pathetic.
Okay. Oh, here we go. We were 40. So are you quite angry? Sorry, can we just get the microphone over there? Is that all right? I'll come back to you. Thank you. Look, sorry to put you on the spot, but what's your point? You
I'm going to keep it simple. I mean, you say everything, but you had 14 years to do. You had 14 years to do so. You sit here, it's all well and good, but you had 14 years to do so. You blame it on everybody else, but you literally were in government, in cabinet. You had 14 years to do such. Okay. Fine, sit here and spread the remit on everybody else.
Okay.
Look, I think the last Conservative government made mistakes, and what do you do? You have to learn from those mistakes, and you've got to put forward constructive proposals to make our country a better place. That's my job now. I'm in opposition. I'm the Shadow Justice Secretary. My role is to hold Labour to account, and I think this is a failing Labour government, and bring forward serious, credible answers to try and make the country a better place. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm afraid that if things were poor in the past, the Labour Party was making things even worse, releasing prisoners early. Look what Keir Starmer is doing on illegal migration. You've seen 1,000 people, undocumented people, mostly young men, incidentally, not what the fantasist Darren Jones had to say last night on Question Time, flooding into our country on small boats. Time and again, Starmer is making this country a worse place, and my job is to hold him to account on your behalf.
We had 40 years. Just before we go to the front here, sorry, but it's very relevant to what we're talking about. We had the news earlier on today that there is this latest rape gang. 4 of them were born in Pakistan. Now, we're awaiting confirmation from the government as to whether or not they're going to deport them. You are Shadow Justice Minister, hoping to one day be Justice Minister, at the minimum, probably. What would you do? Would you deport these people?
Yeah, look, I want to get those despicable people deported out of our country as quickly as possible. Let's see what happens when they're sentenced. Incidentally, I think they should get proper sentences.
Right.
I don't know if you saw recently, but some of these rape gang perpetrators are getting pathetically low sentences. There was a group that I referred to the Attorney General for his consideration as unduly lenient sentences recently because they were getting 6.5 years for drugging young girls and then raping them time and again. And in those cases, it had taken 25 years and I think 3 different court cases for them to finally get justice. I don't think 6.5 years is justice, is it? And on that occasion, the Attorney General and the court stepped in and the sentences were increased to 11 years. I've said that rape gang perpetrators should get full life sentences. I don't think these kind of people should ever see the light of day again. Okay. And if they are foreigners, then as soon as they finish their sentences, should be out of our country. I don't want them ever walking the streets of this country.
A gentleman on the front row here. Now, you mentioned earlier on, I think, you Conservative councillor or something. Is that right?
That's right. I stood for Shropshire Council.
So I have to ask you then, presumably you're a Conservative member. Who did you vote for the leadership?
You'll be pleased to know that I voted for you, Rob.
Right, OK, that's the relief. At least I thought it was going to get awkward then for a second. Well, would you still rather he was the leader as opposed to Kemi Badenoch then?
Look, when Kemi was elected, I said on social media that I will and always will support the Conservative Party no matter who's leading it, but if there's a certain policy or certain things which I don't personally agree with, I will speak out about it. I have done once, I think. But at the end of the day, we all need to be united and work together to get back into government.
Quite right.
And to address the gentleman's point over there,
About 14 years. Was that the one about having had 14 years, right?
Robert stood down from government with integrity, and if that's not integrity, I don't know. And people want accountability. If that's not accountability, what is? And also, just as a criminology student, I'm going to ask a similar question as I did at our patrons' meal. Should there be better rehabilitation programmes for those who are not serious offenders to ensure that our prison spaces are more free for those serious offenders?
Okay, go on.
Yeah, look, I do want to see our prisons working better and to have proper rehabilitation. We all think that people should be given second chances, and our prisons aren't functioning right now. There's drugs, there's poor education, there's Islamist gangs, frankly, in some of them, controlling the wings. But I also think that career criminals should be in prison. You know, I do think it's very important that we get these people off our streets as a matter of punishment, but also about public protection. And at the moment, almost 60% of the crime in our country is being committed by just 9% of the criminals. So we've got to get those people off our streets. I don't subscribe to this view that so-called minor crime should never carry a prison sentence. There are crimes, theft, burglary, shoplifting, having your mobile phone nicked, which are almost decriminalised right now. We have to get those people, particularly the persistent offenders, off the streets into jail to keep you safe.
I'm going to get shouted after this. I'm just going to do one more, and it's got to be very quick, I'm afraid. Very quick, because it ties into the topic we're going to be doing next. Today, we had, roughly speaking, 1,000 people cross the channel. The government is saying they've done some deal with the French where they slashed the boats in the water. That hasn't happened. How do you solve a problem like the French?
Well, the French, I've said for a long time that the French could stop this problem tomorrow if they wanted to. And just look at the Belgians. They do stop the boats on the beaches, and in fact they go into the water, in the shallow water, and they turn back the boats. The French could do the same. They're not doing it. We're currently wasting hundreds of millions of pounds that we're giving to the French, getting virtually nothing in return. But I don't think that you outsource your own border security to the kindness of strangers and our neighbours. At the end of the day, this is on us, and if we want to secure our borders, we need a proper deterrent. That means you arrive in the UK, you're immediately detained, and then you're removed, whether it's back home to your own country or to another country, or Rwanda or whatever. And to make that work, you've got to change our human rights laws. The merry-go-round of legal claims has got to come to an end once and for all, and I think that means leaving the European Convention on Human Rights.
Right, well,
The Tory MPs don't want that. You've got to get rid of them in the next election.
Okay.
There's lots of Liberal Democrats.
All right, you can't because you got my. But the point there was, which unfortunately we're out of time. But the point there was that I think some people in your party are a bit wet. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But right, well, we're going to be reacting to a lot of what Mr. Jenrick has had to say there, as well as going back to Israel/Iran and zoning in on the fact that yet again today 1,000, mostly young men, did come to Britain. So we'll be reacting to all of that. I can see some people very pleased with what they've heard. Maybe some people not so much. So we'll have the conversation. But thank you to Shadow Justice Minister Robert Jenrick.
Thank you.